What is nature? Nature does not refer to just natural phenomena. Instinct, that specific instinct, is not it. Let's call it human nature, shall we? If one wishes to understand human nature, what is it? How can it be understood? The concept I'm beginning to give you about human nature is for understanding is that significant things, significant behaviors, and significant actions that we refer to by observing others, which we call nature, are not really nature. Nature means it's locked. There's a word associated with it, locked. It's permanent. Now it cannot change. Tell me, once you say it's locked and cannot change, what happens next? Tell me, then improvement cannot happen. If we consider it as it is, what should we take it as? Consider it as nature. When we say someone's nature is locked, it implies that improvement has stopped. Remember one thing, I'm saying this to explain it to you. This aspect of nature is a big part of our grooming. It's called nurture. This is nature. This is nurture. This is grooming. What happens now is that human beings are gifted by Allah with the part of grooming. It's not there for the rest of the creatures. They only have nature. They're confined by their nature. They're trapped in their instinct. As you might have heard examples since childhood, even if you give milk to a scorpion, or a snake, what will it do? It will sting you. What is that? It's trapped within its nature. Why don't we pet a wolf? Why do we pet only dogs? As a species, they're quite close. The dog is a little part related to grooming, but it's absent in the wolf. Because while petting a wolf, no matter how much you pet it, if it gets hungry, its self-mechanism to survive is so strong, its nature is dominant, and it will eat you. The dog won't, right? The dog feels that if you've trained him to believe someone is its master's enemy, it will attack that person. Is that the case, right? But the wolf can't do that. Even though these species are so close, nature means it's locked, unchangeable. But in this aspect of grooming, significant things come in. If you want to list them, you can do it systematically. In this, your childhood comes in, the environment in which you grew up, the education you received, the people, the company you've had, the training you've received. All these things come together in this entire process of grooming. And what does it make? All these things come together to form aspects that are the results of grooming. Those are thoughts, perspectives, and habits. That's the essence of a human being. Everything else is just the body. What did I say? This is a human being. What else is there? It's the body. Everyone has a body. Where we differ is in our thoughts, perspectives, and habits. That's where our difference lies. This part of grooming is so significant that, except for genes, which play a role, I agree, mostly what we call nature is actually the environment we spent our childhood in. It's termed as nature, but it's already been groomed, making it a bit difficult to change. Remember this, if this lecture forms into an actual lecture, there's another lecture related to it, one on habits, habit formation. The older the habit, the harder it is to change because it's already rooted. It has its origins. Nature is the basic survival kit you've received, and on the top of that, a person stands. Nature doesn't change. It's deeply rooted and it's your survival kit. The entire grooming is not nature. I've told you before that those things we call nature are not nature. They're habits. And where did they come from? They came from these things. From childhood, from the environment, education, company, the way parents were, the training received, all of which forms grooming. What are we understanding it as? Nature. But it's not nature. Nature is nearly similar. A child's nature is almost the same. Beyond that, it's somewhat different. As I've shown with an arrow, suggesting that genes might have a slight impact, but what's all the rest? Grooming. That's why we're human. That's why all the training institutions in the world exist, and that's why schools, academies, and universities were created. It's because of this part. It's for humans, not for others. And listen to this interesting fact. Every species that can be trained will have its own form of schooling. Horses have theirs. They receive training, right? Dogs have theirs. There's a species that's useful for spying, and they receive training. Wherever there is room for grooming, there's training. Institutions, groomers, teachers, there. That's how you go beyond nature. And wherever there's pure nature, you simply cannot afford it. You leave it in general context. You might say it should be in its natural habitat, but where it diverges slightly from nature, where something is above nature towards grooming, what will that creature become? They'll become trainable. Understand my point? Let me give you an example. Some people raise snakes or even extract venom, or they raise snakes that don't cause harm. Why? Because if you can manage the natural part of it, control the temperature, then it's fine. Otherwise, you can't raise it. Shall we move forward and wrap this up a bit? So the thing standing above nature is grooming. Those big things we call nature aren't nature. They're habits. So when do these habits form? Well, the older a habit, the less we remember when it was formed. Let me give you a simple example. Someone has a habit of lying. If you ask them where they learned to manipulate and lie so well, they'd say, I don't remember. Some people are so adept at it, they lie with such confidence that everyone believes it's the truth. Whenever you visit their childhood, you'll realize they didn't get training in their childhood. But what happened when they told the truth? They got punished. So when someone gets punished for telling the truth, what will they do to avoid punishment? And when they repeatedly lie, lying will feel normal. And what's formed then? Their habits, their grooming. Grooming doesn't just mean the classroom. It's the home environment where you live. If there's a culture there that says, son, wake up early, make your bed properly, then leave. Or clean up after eating, put the dishes back, or use the restroom and leave it clean for others to use. What are the principles there? What are the rules? What's the approach to life there? All these things collectively shape a person, and these things, along with one's thoughts, beliefs, and habits, make us different. That's why, my dear, habits can always change, but you have to desire that change. There are 3 famous books: The Power of Habit, Tiny Habits, and Atomic Habits. I've read them all. They all discuss a philosophy that habits can change in 21 days, or 40 days, or 60 days. But one thing they all mention is that human willpower is so strong. If a person decides, who can stand against them? Standing against one's own habits and saying, I will persevere through this. That's the challenge. That's why some people are chain smokers. But when they decide, they throw the pack on the ground and say, enough is enough, I'm quitting. They've been sinful but say, I'm leaving this sin now. They might even have been in a state of disbelief, but at that moment, they recite the Shahada. Allah has granted humans so much willpower. That's the greatness of humans. No creature in this world can say, I won't hunt and eat like a wolf. They don't have that power. It's not within them. A lion is so powerful, but it lacks that power. People say, from now on, I won't eat meat. I'll have sweets and tea. Or a monkey might say, no, I'm grown up now. No more hanging around trees. I'll smoke gold leaf cigarettes. No, it doesn't happen. Humans have that power. If there's a bad habit, a mere decision can change it. In my first book, The Message of Success, I've written a phrase even on its back cover. The phrase is, a person's life doesn't change over centuries, years, months, or days. A person's life changes in that moment when they decide they want to change. It's a single moment. It's a moment when you decide, no more. I'm taking this seriously from now on. I'm moving forward. That's why the power to decide is so immense. The power of will is so vast that it surpasses nature, and through grooming, it takes you from one place to another. A sister of 7 brothers, she's like a tough brother herself. She's robust. She can navigate through the streets because her nature is like that. She's a brother to 7 sisters. She's like an elder sister. There's no timidity in her. Alright, it's not there. That means, though in rare cases, it might not be entirely true everywhere. Still, the influence of that culture is significant. The impact of that culture matters. This is why psychology is remarkable. Psychology is a subject with a history of 100 to 150 years. It's a subject that if anyone among you has studied it, would acknowledge. So psychology tells us that what exists today has a past. Without understanding the past, you cannot comprehend someone's present. Once you start realizing the past that shaped you into what you are today, it becomes much easier. It becomes easier to correct oneself by understanding, hey, it's not actually my fault. My parents didn't know the impact the environment they created would have on my personality. When this realization comes, a person stops fighting and they start correcting themselves, right?